is when a poor person knows from whom he takes, but the giver does not know to whom he gives. So this would be like, for example, the Bill Gates Foundation. Bill Gates has no idea who's getting the money, but the people know it's coming from Bill Gates. Okay? And they give the example, the sages would tie coins in their garments and throw over the bundle of their shoulders, the poor can come up and take it without the sage knowing who it was. Now today we would call that pickpocketing, but that's not what they mean here, okay? But the point is they can take it without being embarrassed. And that comes from the statement in the Torah, where when you harvest your fields, you leave the corners alone, so those who need can come and take without being embarrassed, right? The next one is to give to him with one's own hand before he can ask. So, for example, I have been known on occasion to see someone out in a restaurant or whatever, and I'll call the server over and say, do me a favor, put their meal on my card. Now, they're not asking me.
Oh, thank you. So you were the one.
Not recently, I'm sorry. So I won't take credit for something that wasn't mine. So, and then you can see, 10, 11 to 14 is 1, 2, 3. Before he can ask, give after he's asked, to give not less. Come on in. There's the handout right there. To give less, but you're doing so kindly. No, I'm asking for $10. So here's $9. Okay, thank you. And finally, one who gives begrudgingly. Now the funny thing about that one is, you're still giving. You may have an attitude with it, but you're still giving. I know some of you actually were board members and having a wonderful task, and I mean that tongue in cheek, but at the same time the responsible task of soliciting funds from the congregation. And you do sometimes get the, oh, it's our pleasure, and then you get the, why are you asking me? Or my duty. I mean, you deal with all those different things. It doesn't mean they're bad people. It doesn't. It just means that their thinking of giving is a little different than what you're hoping it would be. And that's reasonable.
Well, my grandmother, she never said anything. One time she was in a supermarket and there was an elderly woman. My grandmother wasn't at the time. I guess I was a kid. And the woman didn't have enough to pay for her food. And my grandmother said, oh, Mrs. whatever her name was, you'll pay me back here. And she paid for the food. And the woman she was so thankful. After that, the woman lived right across the street from my grandmother. At Rosh Hashanah and Passover, my grandmother would just bring her bags of groceries, and in return, but it was a wonderful thing, and it was really a lesson to me. In return, the woman she crocheted, and she would crochet pot holders with roses, and she would get inexpensive glass bowls and crochet and I guess she used starch or something, and she would do that for my grandmother and for my mother and for my aunt, and it was lovely. But my grandmother was raised very poor. Her mother died when she was 9. She was kind of dragged up, and she just had such a full heart. And it was a good lesson to.
Statistically speaking, the poorer one is, the more apt they are to give tzedakah.
She was really
okay. So the truth is, 80% of tzedakah is collected from the top 20%. But 80% of people below that are more active in the tzedakah process. May not be able to give the same means, but they give something. In other words, they help those in need. The other truth is we have become incredibly cynical because we want our money to know that it's helping someone, that is not being frivolous or thrown away or being used for nefarious purposes. And so I have been in that situation where I've helped someone in the grocery line. The guy from the TV show, What Would You Do, has done a couple of episodes like this, either with military personnel, with others. And the majority of people, when they see this going on, said, no, go ahead, I got it. And the people that are creating the sob stories are other actors. But that's the whole so forth. But if I get lucky, and actually I've been buying tickets, but if I actually win either Tuesday or Wednesday or Friday or Saturday, aside in the community, that would be my fun thing to do on Thanksgiving. Just go in the grocery store and just say, throw it all on me, just keep going. I just don't care. But again, the truth is, and you all know this, right? I'm going to help some people in need, and I'm going to help a lot of gunners, or schnorrers, or, I mean, let's use every negative term we want to use in Yiddish. But that's the truth. So, when I arrived, the community was great about publicizing my arrival. It's great. But it was also an open invitation to every schnorrer in the book. Oh, I got calls left and right. Rabbi, my child is suffering. Can you do help? I mean, I was just new here. My discretionary fund was not the level it is now. And I would help when I could. But I remember one particular situation. His daughter needed medicine. I said, fine, which pharmacy? Asbury Park. Thinking I would not be schlepped down there. I said, fine. I called the pharmacy. Legitimate case. I said, I'll be there in an hour. I went and paid for her prescription. And the guy called back and said, thank you. And then he called back a week later and said, she needs more medicine. I said, I'll call the pharmacy. He said, no, not yet. I said, well, I can't. Well, I call the pharmacy. Oh, okay. Like I was checking in. I have a woman who found me. I try not to let anybody go hungry. So either through the Keyport Food Pantry or through St. Ben Food Pantry, or, I mean, I have enough connections around now. And I'll give them X amount of ShopRite or Stop and Shop gift card. But the problem is they get one, so they figure it's an open check to keep coming back. I'm really clear. I said, I can't do this in perpetuity. You're not a congregant, and I got to make sure I have the funds for my congregants when they're in need, because sometimes they are. So it's hard. I mean, tzedakah is not easy. They call it a righteous act. It's righteous because it's a really hard thing to do, but it really is not easy because we have become cynical and we have become cautious. One of the programs that we do at the Religious Action Center with the kids is the homelessness. And I'm convinced they know the rack schedule. Because we always go to Georgetown, that's Friday night they get the program, we go to Georgetown Saturday night. And I question if there's more beggars during rack weekends. But the kids who have now become sensitized to some of the issues, well, they may not have to give them money, and that's fine. But they're respectful and saying, you know, I'm really sorry you're down your luck, I don't have anything, but God bless you. Fine, being respectful, and that's the key point. But nevertheless, it begs the question. So, all right, so that's tzedakah. I kept that short because, again, this stuff you already know. Shabbat. On the bottom of page 2, going into 3. So this is just chapter 1 through 4 of Hilchot Shabbat, the laws of the Sabbath. So you guys came in a little bit late. I picked up 3 sections of Mishneh Torah. 2 you probably know most of. The 3rd you probably don't, but I thought it'd be fun. Okay? So the lighting of the Sabbath lights is not a free choice. To light or not to light is one chooses. In other words, is a mitzvah, which means it's an obligation. And nor is the kind of religious performance that an individual is not called upon to make a special effort to render, such as preparing an eruv in courtyards or washing the hands before eating, is rather a duty binding on men and women alike. So, contrary to popular custom, the lighting of the Sabbath candles is not just a woman's act. The reality, though, of its practice is based on the model of how Shabbat begins. Mama is home, preparing the meal, and as the sun is setting, lights the candles. While Papa and the sons are at shul for Mincha Ma'ariv or Mincha Kabbalot, meaning the afternoon service going into Shabbat. There's no lighting at the candles at the synagogue. There's no Kiddush at the synagogue. It's simply doing the Shabbat evening prayer, then coming home. The candles have already been lit. And then you do Kiddush and Motzi and Kiddush at the Kiddush and Motzi, right order, at the table, as you then have the rest of the Shabbat evening. When the Reform movement adopted Kabbalat Shabbat to bring it back, so to speak, we were trying to emulate the ideal, which is you do services, then you eat and you relax. It's not the other way around when you shove your Shabbat meal down and rush to get the services. We are primarily a Friday night Shabbat congregation. We are not a Saturday morning congregation unless there's something special going on. But a mitzvah program, whatever, doesn't matter. And that's fine. That's our community. That has nothing but anything. And the truth is, we have an active Shabbat morning observance called Torah study. I'll get a dozen or so every week throughout the entire year. Now, it's starting to dwindle down because it's the snowbird recession period versus the snowbird, you know. It's the truth. It's the truth. Anyway, so it's an obligation of men and women. It's not just a woman's job. So they're obligated to have lamps burning in their homes on Sabbath Eve, even if one had nothing to eat. Let it go begging at the doors, buy oil and light a lamp, forming an integral part of Sabbath delight on next Shabbat. Because the lighting of the candles is the announcement that I'm entering into the sacred time. No matter how crappy my life is, I should have a taste of what the potential could be. And the lighting of the candles is just the beginning of that taste. It is very true. You would live meagerly all week, but you would splurge on Friday night. It may just be potatoes during the week. Friday night you would have a little bit of meat or chicken or whatever the protein may be. That was not unusual. Most of Maimonides is Sephardic. So he's not going to say chicken. In fact, he's not going to say anything. He'll say meat. But we'll get there soon enough. The other piece of that, though, is most of the images we have are Eastern European. He does not have that image. So I'll be real clear about that. Okay.
In this,
I'm sorry?
in this section, is there anything in the Mishnah that says about eating fish on Friday in a Jewish home?
The answer is no. There's not, at least not in the one that I highlighted for you. We will say that fish in our tradition is not a problem, but that's a great question. I have to double check on that one. No, I love what it means.
No,
No. So here's the thing. I'll give you a simple sidebar, because I'm thinking you're referring to Christians about Fish Fridays.
No, I'm concerned.
Oh.
No, I'm concerned about we too.
When we were first married,
Right.
probably the first meal I made on a Friday
Right.
night,
Was.
I made fish.
Okay.
It was probably flounder because that's all I knew. And it was a
Right.
lovely meal on our china. And Ed walked into the kitchen and said, like this, I mean, fish on Friday? And I had, because...
We didn't know, no meat Friday. I'm sorry.
But it had nothing to do with
Yeah.
I never thought of,
Yeah.
it was, oh, let's have fish, it's nice. And he kept repeating it, and finally, I mean, he was like getting like crazy. And I said, are you gonna eat it? And he said, no fish on Friday. And I took the plate and I smashed it. So now I've always had 11
Wow, what a good way to begin your marriage.
plates.
Well, you survived, so.
Yes.
But it was,
Obviously, you still haven't finished the
it's
dilemma.
almost, it'll be 49 years November 2nd.
Wow.
And this has always been,
It's a fun.
That story obviously is part of your relationship.
Yeah.
So, the answer is, you're required to have a meal that's distinguishedly different than the ordinary meals you have during the week. And so regardless of your status in society, so if you're eating high and mighty on the week, you have to eat higher and mightier on Shabbat. And obviously the poor during the week can eat a little bit better. So, but when you said that, my first reaction was, Christians, especially during the season of Lent, will not eat meat on
yes,
Friday,
I
because it's
know.
Good Friday, and therefore they eat fish. So in the Sephardic community, they don't necessarily eat roast beef, roast turkey, or roast chicken at the Seder. They will have lamb. Because that's exactly what it was. So I want to be clear, it's perfectly fine. Eastern European, the Mishigas, or the true explanation was, well, since the temple doesn't stand, we shouldn't do lamb. The truth is, it was expensive or wasn't that commonly available. That's the truth. So, and likewise, lamb on Friday night, the same concept. So the roast bit, and in particular comes to chicken was cheaper
Right.
and more prevalent. So that's exactly what happened. And so, but I can't imagine, I don't believe there's any prohibition eating fish on Shabbat. Okay?
It's okay.
Look, my favorite story is I'm a junior or senior? Junior in high school. Winter Kala was in Fort Worth, Texas. The host family, no children, 4 boys they hosted. They took us to an all-you-can-eat Mexican buffet restaurant called Pancho's, which doesn't exist anymore, which for probably good reason. But the way it works is you go through the buffet line like a cafeteria line, you pick your initial dishes, then you sit down, and then when you're ready to do more, there's a Mexican flag on your table. You lift the flag up, and you tell them you want more, they bring you more. Well, we used to joke, we're going to put a little motor on it, so it would just keep going, right? It's 4 boys. But that was Shabbos dinner. And it stuck in my head all these years because it was so weird. But we had fun. So.
you see, my uncle was Catholic.
Mm-hmm.
My aunt was Jewish. And I was at her house once with my Catholic friend, and my aunt would make fish for my uncle, but he wasn't home yet, but she made chicken for the rest of the family.
Right.
And so Mary Lou sat down, my aunt invited her. She sat down and she started eating the chicken, and then she realized what she was doing.
Oh,
So
well.
it was very.
And
so-
another one bites the dust. I'm sorry.
But I never thought of fish being forbidden on
No,
Friday
right,
night.
it is not, it's not. And here's the flip of it. The lakes are frequent guests at our Seder table. Well, the last couple of years, first Seder's been on Friday night, and especially if it's Good Friday. Bob is Catholic. Bob won't eat brisket on Good Friday. And so we've always made fish on the side for him. This year he decided not to come at all. And that was a choice. No, but Dorothy and the kids did.
Right.
Okay. But but they do what they want to do. But that's a perfect example of the opposite.
Yeah, we've always had, my uncle was always at our Seder.
Yeah, sure.
So you always
And
have
then,
fish
you know,
from
as other Christians have, Catholics have joined in. So the first year that it was Friday night, I made fish for the 3 Catholics
Yeah.
who were there. And the Jews all said, where's the rest of the fish?
So you gave them gefilte fish.
No.
Right.
It's
Oh,
not
no, we have
fish.
to go filter fish. Anyway,
Anyway.
so light the candle, then what you should say. You all know the bracha. It's right here written for you. What makes this fascinating is Moses Maimonides put the prayer in the Mishneh Torah so that the individual reading this can go, oh, there's the prayer. But you know the prayer is not true. Because what's the prayer say? Praised are you, Adonai, sovereign of the universe, who sanctifies us with your commandments and commands us on the kindling the Sabbath lights. Okay, fine. Open up a Torah for me and please show me where God commands us to kindle the Sabbath lights. God doesn't. So Moses Maimonides basically, in permanence, took a tradition and made it law. Which we don't have a problem with because it was already the practice of the land. So you understand why we have 2 candles. One to remember the Sabbath day, Zakor, and one to observe the Sabbath day, Shamor. The words you're familiar from Vishamru, Shamor v'Zachor, to observing and remember, or keep, if you will. That comes from the 2 versions of the 10 Commandments in Exodus and Deuteronomy, and hence for that reason is why we have 2 candles. Okay.
So maybe
But-
this was just part of the oral tradition?
Oh, the answer is yes. Now don't forget what he did. Remember from last time. He took all of the rules in the Mishnah, the commentaries in the Talmud, and other oral traditions. Keeping in mind, Mishnah is oral tradition, and made it in a codified form so that the average Jew learned, because they have to be able to read this, because there was no English sidebar, or Spanish sidebar in this case, and know what the basic rules were. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it's not really accurate to say it's not in the Torah, it's not in the five books of Moses, but it's part of the oral
It's
history.
part of the oral tradition, but the truth is, when you say the phrase "Asher kirishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu," who has sanctified us with your commandments and command us to, the command to part. That's okay. It's just as goofy during another holiday, which is really goofy. Asher kirishanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Chanukah. That's not even in the Hebrew Bible.
Here again. So this has
That's not oral tradition. I'm telling you the truth. That is just simply reaction.
I understand, but
Yeah.
I happen to be listening to another set of tapes.
Yeah.
And it has to do with what we considered canonized the 5 books, and then
Right.
and then the others that the Maccabeans, which weren't. But I understand there's information there about Hanukkah.
Oh, absolutely. That's how we get it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, the problem with Hanukkah for us, as far as a Jewish source, you're looking at Talmud, Tractate Shabbat, pages 21a and b, and it's all about how you light the candles. You light them 8 and take one away each day, or you light 1 and add 1 each day. And that's where they talk about Hanukkah. They don't talk about the miracle, they don't talk about any of that. That's not true, take it back. They do talk about the miracle briefly there. But the true source of Hanukkah is the first 2 of the 4 books of Maccabees,
Yes.
which is found in the New Testament canonization. You're absolutely correct.
And then again, that's just something that we just decided not to canonize.
Correct.
And the Catholic Church decided that that was okay.
Correct.
Okay. So it's kind of interpretation of how.
Oh
the-
yeah, no, canonization is canonization. I mean, as far as what was going to be acceptable and so forth. The last 2 books to make it in our book, we know, is Song of Songs and Daniel. And no bearing where it is. Song of Songs was too erotic. They didn't know what to do with it. And Daniel, because it is our book of Revelations, if you will, about the apocalypse and the end of the days and so forth. And I think, in my opinion, it was a reaction to everything else going on. But who knows? Who knows? All right. So the idea is that this is the same principle. One recites the benediction as a duty. It's permitted to use a Shabbat lamp. In other words, if you have a lamp, and again, we're talking lamp, so this is now 13th century, it's permitted to use it. What that means is you can read by it. In other words, you're supposed to light another light and then light the Shabbat candles. And you use the other light as your reading light. Now, the truth is there's a difference of opinion. So it's saying here is that if it needs to be precise, forbidding the use, in other words, the fear is, I have to back up. The practice is today, your Shabbat candles should be different from your Shabbat lights. And the reason is, as he gives a reference to, permitted to use a Sabbath lamp, and this is in the case that the thing one is doing does not need much devotion. In other words, I'm lighting the lamp and I leave it alone. It does its job. But if I feel the need to shake it so the oil will distribute more, or to tilt it, then what I've done is I've altered its natural state. Therefore, I've committed the act of, quote, avodah, work. And that is the prohibition. So this is where the mishigas of Shabbat then goes to the extreme. Whereas I'll light my candles and I'll use another light. If I'm still using the good old-fashioned oil or wax, wick, you light all the other lights first before you light the Shabbos candles. But once you light the Shabbos candles, no other light can be lit. Okay? The Sabbath light should be lit during daytime before sunset. Remember now, the duty is both. But it's assigned to women rather than men because women are usually at home doing housework. This is the reality of the 13th century, folks. Nevertheless, the man, I like this, should caution them, asking them about it, and telling them that the other members of the household, every Friday night before it gets dark, light the lights. All right, thanks, dear. You tell me this every week. Why don't you tell me this again? Right? If it's doubtful whether darkness has fallen or not, I don't know how that can be doubtful, but okay. Whether Sabbath has not begun, the lights may not be lit. If you're not sure if the Sabbath has begun, it is better to not light the candles than to light them and violate the Sabbath. That's what the premise is here. So, the truth is, the Reform movement has created a dilemma with the lighting of Shabbat candles. Right now, actually not even, we're off kilter already. When we light the candles at 7:45, the sun is clearly already set. At 6:30, we're right on the target route right now, give or take. Now, in 2 weeks' time, it won't matter. It'll be dark by 4 when we do the clocks forward, fall back. That's right. On November 4th, we fall back an hour, and November 6th, we take our country back. Got it. That's the slogan that's been going around. Okay. Yes. Anyway, or as someone, the 31st is All Hallows Eve. The 1st is Day of the Dead. Or not, that's not what it's called. It's called something else. November 1st, whatever the.
All Saints, Toussaint.
Yeah, but it's also the November 1st. It's the All Saints Day, the Day of the Dead, something like that. And then November 4th. There's a whole litany of people. Anyway, I digress. I apologize. So it's better to err on not lighting them than lighting them violating the Sabbath. So the truth is, Shabbat begins 18 minutes prior to sundown, but technically sundown is sufficient, and ends, which we'll see in a moment, approximately 25 hours later. Okay? The period from sunset until the time when the 3 stars of medium size become visible and called twilight. Medium size means it's visibly noticeable to the naked eye. You're not using any other device. So if it's too small, you're not going to be able to see it very well. Now, what's the obvious question? What is a cloudy night? Mm-hmm. Nowadays, we know the timeline. Okay? It's uncertain whether this period is part of the preceding day or the following night. We decide in favor of greater stringency on this score. Hence, the Sabbath lights may not be lit during twilight. In other words, that's why you wait 18 minutes prior to the Sabbath to light. In other words, you do it then before the sun starts going down.
Or you check the funeral home's calendar.
Correct. Funeral home calendar based on, so by definition, most of the calendar cards will say New York. Some will say Newark. Newark and New York may be off by 30 seconds, so the calendar won't show that, but it will show when that 30 seconds is enough to be a minute. and it's not universal through the year. And New York is different than Trenton by a minute. Which, you know what I'm saying? So there are those, it's all latitude and longitude, just at the sun setting. This is not a strange thing. So people do. And likewise, what do you do in Anchorage? Or what do you do, in my case, Helsinki, Finland? When the sun sets at 1 in the morning and re-rises at 3 in the morning. That's a hell of a short Shabbat. But it's not. It's not, though. Think about it. The sun sets at 1 in the morning, light the candles, right? And it won't set until the next 1 in the morning. So it's not any different. It's just a really long day. Okay? I want you to understand the difference. The daylight, you know, I was in Helsinki on July 4th weekend many, many moons ago for a wedding. And we toasted sunset at 1 in the morning, and we toasted sunrise at 3 in the morning before we went back to our hotel to crash. It was kind of fun. So, anyway, so that, I just want to give you an introduction, basic. Now, this is the stuff I thought would be fascinating. Moses Maimonides was a physician. He was very dedicated to finding the Jewish law in regard to taking care of our own bodies. And we Jews are obsessed with food. So he talks about food. So, seeing that this is Hilchot, Mishneh Torah, Hilchot Da'ut. Seeing that the maintenance of the body in a healthy and sound condition is a God-chosen way. God wants us to live healthy. Okay? For lo, it is impossible that one should understand or know aught of the divine knowledge concerning the Creator when one is sick. It is necessary for a person to distance themselves from things which destroy the body, and accustom themselves to things which are healthful and life-imparting. They are, never shall a person partake food save when hungry. So only eat when you're hungry. Never drink unless you're thirsty. Do not defer elimination even 1 minute. In other words, don't hold it. But the moment one feels the need to evacuate urine and feces, he must rise immediately. Okay? Exactly.
Should I start run?
No. Or rise immediately from where you are to get to wherever the place of defecation will
Rise
be.
and run.
There's no privy yet. Well, there might have been a toilet, but no flowing water for this purpose yet. Which is not totally true, because the Romans already had it.
Really smart. I mean,
It's incredibly smart. It's basic medicine here.
Listen
right?
to your body.
Eat when you're supposed to eat, drink when you're supposed to drink, and eliminate when you're supposed to eliminate. Don't hold it in. Right? Basic, right? As babies, we did it. As babies, when we were hungry, we cried, we got fed. When we needed to go, we went. And then we learned to control it. Which may not always be the best idea. I don't know. Now, I'm glad we don't control. I've learned to control it. I really don't want to be pooping and pushing in my pants, but I get the idea. Okay? Man shall not eat his stomach full, but should reduce about 1/4 of the quantity which would sate him. Nor shall he drink water during the meal, save a little mixed with wine. In other words, you were supposed to have wine, not just water. But when the food will commence to be digested in his bowels, he may drink whatever quantity he needs. Nevertheless, he should not drink over much water even after the food was digested. He should not eat before a thorough examination of self whether there's a need for elimination. In other words, you should be clean before you eat. Okay?
So is this saying not to drink while you're eating?
Not to what, right?
Not to drink water while you're eating?
Right, in other words, drink wine is better for the digestion. Okay? Let's see. Man shall not eat without warming his body either by walking before mealtime, by some manual labor, or by some other form of exercise that will tire him. Because he figured out if your metabolism was already going, that it helps in your digestive process. So you're supposed to eat sweaty, basically. You're supposed to be active.
All
As a
right.
general rule, right, I'm sorry?
I said I interpret this getting up from the television.
Well, that's not what it means there, okay? As a general rule, he shall exercise his body and tire it every day during the morning so that will commence to aspire. When he shall rest a little until his spirit will be calm, then eat. If you take a warm bath after hard exercise, it's better. After which you can rest a little, then eat. Because you're cleansing yourself as well. You don't eat sweaty if you don't have to.
Growing up,
Yeah?
we were told not to drink water during the meal because it fills you up.
Correct. But he's also saying that not because it's filling up so much, is because, as he's saying, the wine will help in the digestive process. Okay? So anybody on any type of limiting intake are often told, drink more water than the food, that you're feel more filled. The truth is, you will feel more filled while you are eating, but the hunger will come back earlier because obviously there's nothing there to fill you. So the water will just dissipate through. Okay? But you were also told that if you eat, you may not swim for 1 hour. That's an old wives' tale.
That's
Not
true
actually true at all.
also.
If you're eating a snack and then go swimming, you'll be
That's true.
fine. If you're eating a full meal, you're not going to be able to swim or much do anything else. You got to let your body process that level. You can go walking, but swimming involves breathing as well, and that's part of the challenge. Okay? Ever after a person eats, he should remain for a time sitting in his place or leaning on his left side. Now, that same line, by the way, is the Seder. To show that we're truly free, you lean on your left. And the question is, why the left? Some have said because it's closer to your heart, you want to let the blood flow a little easier, so it's more relaxed. I don't know enough of where your appendix and other things are that really makes a difference. I just don't know. Okay? But he shall not walk, ride, horseback, tire himself, exercise his body, or ramble about, or the food in his stomach is digested. And he who does ramble about or tires himself after eating invites upon himself bad and serious ailments. Stomach ache, discomfort. But again, you're only eating yourself until you're 3/4 full.
What's amazing is that this is in the Mishnah.
Yeah,
In,
Mishneh
in
Torah.
the 12th
12th
century.
century, 13th century, yeah, absolutely. Again, most of the sound medical knowledge or sound dietary, I mean, they are sound, and we have forgotten. So here's a simple example. When we were growing up, and you were fortunate to have that special night and go out to a restaurant, we didn't have the portions we get now. The portions now are humongous. And there's two reasons for it. One, it was a way to justify a larger price. The margin of profit is still there, but the cost differential of cooking a 8-ounce meal and a 12-ounce meal is really minimal. But they're able to charge you, 30 or 50% more, and so their profit margin increases. But yet many of us, and I'm guilty of this, were trained you eat what's on your plate. And we had to learn that, no, you don't. And I mean, growing up, that was the case. Both my brother and I, with our children, it made it very clear. Take what you want to start with. There's more. You want more, you can have it, but don't take so much that you're wasting it. But at the same time, don't eat it all unless you really want to eat it. You don't need to eat just for the sake of eating. We had to learn that.
When Ed and I were very active in Weight Watchers, we were told, if you're out in a restaurant, ask.
Yeah.
So Ed likes chopsticks, so we were in the diner, and he said,
I
by
love
the way, how much
Yeah.
much meat do you get in the chopstick? And the waitress went to the kitchen and came back and said, a pound.
That's huge.
A pound.
Yeah.
And how much, red meat are you supposed to eat? That's
Yeah.
4 ounces,
Right.
or the size of the palm of your hand.
Yeah.
A whole pound. So that's...
But I find now that I'm very comfortable saying, you know what, I'm cutting this in half, I'll have my dinner and the other, I'll bring home, and I'll eat it. Or David eats it for breakfast in the morning. So
The question that I have, though, I mean,
I heard that.
this was way back, basically in the Middle Ages.
Yeah.
How was this information? How did they
Disseminated?
figure it out? I mean, did they?
This is one person.
Okay, so how did Moses Maimonides know about the?
So
did
he is a physician. He was trained in Egypt. So
he
the
did-
answer is, I'm sure he had some cadaver experience.
Because that's how he would know.
Of course, but he also probably his own whatever traditions and or lessons that were transmitted to him either from his teachers or his own observation. He was absolutely brilliant, without question. Not only because of his writings, but we can see other pieces of it. And so even with that being said, he would and also his own self-experimentation. He would say, I once did this and I realized it was a bad mistake. Please learn from my mistakes. But then he would often, though, he would try to couch it. I'm just going back to Oral Torah. He would couch it based on our tradition because he felt that it gave him more validity. So, but it's no different. My favorite example that was taught to me years ago. You know that red condiment that you might put on your fries? You heard of it?
Ketchup,
Ketchup, yeah, that's really good. At your house, where do you keep it when it's open?
refrigerator,
Why?
have it.
Exactly.
It's
If you
got enough
read
vinegar and
some-
sugar in there
right.
too.
Some ketchup bottles will say refrigerate after opening. Name one restaurant that refrigerates their ketchup. You think about it, they're on the table, they're refilling it and so forth. Ketchup does not need to be refrigerated. Yes, it has a shelf life over time, especially if there's more sugar than vinegar, but we all know that. But the point is that, because that's what I learned from my mother, learned from her mother, and so forth. So there's certain habits. So most Maimonides may have, over time, just developed certain habits. But because my grandmother did it, it became law.
Right.
I suspect most Maimonides tried to incorporate some of that. Yes, sir.
Just to point out, sugar is a preservative.
Whatever may cause it to go bad, if it should go bad.
Bacteria.
There you go. Yeah. I mean, mustard's another example. Mustard does not need refrigerated either.
Or peanut butter.
I'm sorry?
Or peanut butter.
Right.
Mustard again is either wine and vinegar. Okay,
Right.
so both of those are preservatives.
Right. And peanut butter and honey.
Honey
It's
is,
bad to refrigerate honey, but there are people who do.
yeah, but then it crystallizes.
Right, but then you put it in the microwave.
There we go.
or a lot of hot water, but yeah. Honey is nature's incredible preserved, food, if you will.
Again, sugar.
Right, but honey never goes bad. I don't mean you can get soil with other things on it, but honey by itself in a container will never go bad.
Hasn't it been found in pyramids and things like that, honey?
Yeah. So,
I mean, that's really preserved.
yeah.
Right, honey.
All right, so now, I'm sorry, it's the left side, and number 4. The day and night consists of 24 hours. It is enough that a man should sleep a third of it, 8 hours, which is 8 hours. But it should terminate at the end of the night, so that from the time he commences to sleep till sundown will be 8 hours. As a consequence whereof, he will arrive from his bed before sunup. 8 hours, that's it. That's all you need.
Yeah, but he puts a limit on that sun up. What happens if you didn't get to sleep until 2 in the morning?
Well, so the premise is here, don't forget, outside of candlelight, there was not a whole lot of light. There's no screen time. I mean, I'm thinking about all the things that we deal with now. Now, the truth is, great inventors and scholars, we know that they worked well into the night by candlelight. But they slept also very little, too. They did not tend to sleep those 8 hours. Or artists who do sleep, but they sleep from 4 in the morning till noon. So, everybody their own. But he's just saying 8 hours is more than enough.
But then it says we will arise
Yeah, by
in
sunup.
bed
Right.
from sunup.
Now, why would you have to rise by sunup?
To go to work.
I'm sorry?
To go to work.
Our prayers.
Oh.
Morning prayers. Before going to work. Or before doing your labors. Going to work, that's a modern thing. In other words, going to your labors. It could be opening up a shop, but my point is doing their labors. But before that, prayers.
Actually, a day is not 24 hours.
Right.
Exactly. It's 23 hours, 56 minutes, and 12 to 14 seconds.
Right?
And if you put all of that together, every 4 years, it
Right,
makes
we had an extra day. Right.
That,
You're
that's
absolutely right.
But
Right. Unlike the lunar cycle, we had an extra month. 5779, which we're in right now, is a leap year. So all the holidays are what they think should happen. In January, it'll be Tu B'Shvat. And then instead of 4 weeks later being Purim, it'll be 8 weeks later, because there's an extra month. And then Purim to Passover, of course, is 1 month. And then so that's why Passover toward the end of April. Shavuot is June 8th and 9th.
So it's late.
It's late, late by our secular calendar. And Erev Rosh Hashanah is the 29th or 30th of September.
Very late.
Yes, very late, which I'm thankful for. It helped me out a lot. So.
right.
All right. All right. This one I like. Man shall not sleep with his face downward, nor with his face upward, but on his side. So don't sleep on your back and don't sleep on your belly. Okay? At the beginning of the night on his left side, at the end of the night on his right side. Now, I don't know how one trains oneself to flip oneself over, but okay. But the premise there is, and this is where you have that experience. Blood flow, blood flow. In other words, to even it out, so to speak. Because you can't be on your back, because then blood pools down, whatever, and so forth. Some people sleep with their feet up a little bit, so their legs don't get swollen. Because there are other issues that they're dealing with, okay? He shall not sleep immediately after meals, but wait about 3 or 4 hours after eating. He shall not sleep in the daytime. Naps are no. Okay? But again, think about this. You have a set regimen. We may joke about it in the TV show Big Bang Theory. The character, Sheldon, has a set bowel time every single day. Most of us in this room, I suspect, have about pretty close to that. We just don't think about it as a schedule. But we're probably pretty consistent. And when we're not consistent, something is out of whack. So, all right.
Oh, yeah.
In order to be regular, these are the things that soften the bowels. As grapes, figs, Morris nigra, I have to look that back up, I don't remember. Pears, cucumis mellow, melons, cucumis sativus, hold on. I have to look this up again, 6. It'll be easier if I read it in Hebrew. Hushim. Kagon, avanim, that's grapes. Vitanim. Yeah, I got to double check it again. So, a man shall eat before partaking of the principal dishes, and not mix with the other food, but wait a bit till it leaves the esophagus, then takes his meal, and things which stiffen the bowels, add pomegranate grain, quince, apples, or persicum, he may eat right after the meal, but of these he should not eat in large quantities. So don't eat stuff that'll keep yourself soft, and stuff that makes you constipated. You can have, just don't do too much of it. Any of us who grew up in any semblance of Eastern European background Jewish home, if you had trouble, what was the go-to in the refrigerator in my house?
juice.
Prune juice. I like prune juice. Oh, you looked it up? Thank you. What is
Yeah,
it?
more sneaker is
Give me one second.
custom.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to make sure Sam wasn't in here.
Sam Chabanka?
Yeah.
Is he here?
No, he's not.
All right, because I do need to talk to him about tickets for the show. Okay.
And that's so funny because
right.
Gary's looking to him.
Thank you.
Tickets.
All right.
It just says custom black.
All right, I'll look it up and I'll have it for you next time. I'm sorry, I thought I took care of it. But the point is that growing up, one of my favorite cookies were Fig Newtons. But I knew I could only eat so many or there would be a price to pay. And likewise, if things weren't going well, prune juice is my friend. I love prune Danish, always have. Granted, there's more sugar than prune in it, but that's besides the point. But, and I love prunes, except they don't call them prunes anymore. Now they call them dried plum, which I find very funny.
Well, it is the funny fruit.
It's marketing.
Oh, I know that, yeah. So, but again, one of my favorite things during Pesach, and is my lifesaver, is fruit compote, which is plums, prunes, dried apricot, dried cherries, Samantha makes it for me. Hey, I'm able to fulfill the dictum, let my people go. Sorry. So, matzah goes with that latter category about not eating too much of. So, matzah has absolutely zero dietary fiber. So, all right.
Have you tried the whole wheat?
I can't say I have, to be honest with you. I can't say I have. All right. When man desires to have fowl and beef in one meal, so you're having, chicken and meat, he should eat the meat of the fowl first, eggs and poultry in one meal. He should eat eggs first, meat of the flock and meat of the herd in one meal. He should eat the meat of the flock first. In other words, he's basically saying beef is heavier, so that should be eaten last, not first. Because the premise is you're going to eat less of that. Okay? You should eat the lighter food first and the heavier food last. Because again, if you're only eating to make yourself 3/4 full, you're not going to eat that much meat. Now here's the reality check. Meat was not as prevalent as everybody thinks it was. We know it was there. Whether it was choice or prime, probably not. Unless you were in a butcher family that knew how to age it and do the right things with it. I'm doing a funeral on Tuesday when I get back from Cape May. The deceased, 92 years old, was the daughter of a kosher butcher. They left Poland in May of 1939. They got the message to get out. And of course, September the war started. Had a butcher shop there, came here, and started again. To the day she died, she never wasted any piece of a chicken. Everything was used, because that's what she was used to raising up. Maimonides is saying, before you're going to eat meat, eat all the other stuff first, because you're going to eat something that's quite expensive, it's not prevalent, and it's heavy, therefore you don't want to eat as much. Did he know from cholesterol and other stuff? No. But he did know that meat was something to be enjoyed, but in very small quantities. Okay. During the summer season, he should eat his food cold and not so much spices, and partake of vinegar. Now summer is, so we're clear, Passover to Sukkot. Okay? The rainy season, he should eat his food warm, with a liberal dose of spices therein. That is the end of Sukkot, Shemini Atzeret, till Passover, for the winter. And partake of some mustard and asafoetida. In this way, he may continue to do in cold zones and in warm zones, in each and every place that which is fit for him. So what did he know? He knew that warm food would spoil quicker when it was warm outside. Doesn't mean cold food didn't spoil, but it was slower unless it was really warm outside. And during the wintertime or rainy season, you're chilled to the bone, so you should eat warm. Spices might also keep you warm. Whether that's true or not, who knows?
There are
Right.
certain spices that are considered warming spices.
Right. But when I think warming spices, I'm usually thinking, cinnamon
Oh, yeah.
and clove with a nice glass of bourbon or something. That's very warming. But I know what you mean. Obviously, the paprikas and the spices and the peppers, of course, yes. But they can be warm here before they transfer to warm. So, we do know, even now, spices, of course, help in the digestive process. I'm sorry? Oh, these are them. All right. Now, he did not know from Oreos. But the Oreos of the day, there are some extremely bad foodstuffs, and it is proper that man should not eat them at any time. For instance, now you asked about fish earlier. The large salted old fishes, or stale salted cheese, or cumin and mushrooms, or old salted meat, or unfermented wine, or stale odorous victuals, and likewise all kinds of food of a bad smell, or extremely bitter taste, or to the body like poison. So let's talk about what he's talking about. He's talking about soiled food to begin with, food that has gone bad. He's also talking about food that's odorous. So does that mean he wouldn't eat Limburger cheese? I don't know. Or blue cheese? I hated blue cheese.
But it's fermented, so he would think that it had gone bad.
Right, well...
That's
right,
not
right.
a true
Well,
statement. Most of our foods are fermented, okay?
Right. Right,
Bread is fermented. Well, I mean, it's live food, okay?
right. So that we have to be careful about.
Can't say fermented.
So again, so the point here is understanding if it's odorous, if it's bitter or something like that, then clearly something is sour. Don't eat soured food. You should not do that. Now, sour cream was not existing yet, but that's another example of that. But it's not totally true. We know it existed.
But they didn't have the medications we do today, so if it's bad,
He's
it's
just saying
better
if the
not
food
to.
smells bad, don't eat it. That's
Yeah,
what he's
Right,
saying.
but that's a good thing.
But no, it's an excellent thing. Again, but I want to be careful because most of Maimonides will tell you that the kashrut laws are there, not only because God told us, but because the Israelites learned that certain foods were unhealthy. He did not know trichinosis, but he knew that pork was not healthy, and therefore, no. Now, pork is actually incredibly healthy today, but it's still something that divides us from other communities.
If in doubt.
And I say incredibly healthy when it's monitored, and I'm not talking about all the other crap that goes on. Okay. And there are some food stuff, while bad, are not as deadly as the former. So clearly, everything you listed prior to this may cause death. It is therefore advisable for man to partake of them but a little, and at long intervals. In other words, don't eat it on a regular basis. Nor shall he accustom himself to make of them his staple food, or to partake of them constantly along with his staple food. For instance, large fishes, cheese or milk older than 24 hours, meat of big oxen and big rams,
Beans?
beans, lentils, peas, bread made of barley, unleavened bread, cabbage, leek, onion, garlic, spelled the old way, mustard, and radish are all bad food.
Really?
Why?
I'm sorry?
Why?
So now large fishes, think about spoilage. In other words, okay, hasn't turned bad yet, but be careful how much you go.
Okay.
Okay? Cheese or milk older than 24 hours.
Same
It may
reason.
still be okay,
Right.
but
Same
not,
reason.
Same thing with big ox and big ram. There's only so much meat one can eat.
the unleavened bread, we know for other reasons.
Well, unleavened bread, now he's not talking about Passover though. He's talking about during the rest of the year. Okay? Unleavened bread though, don't think Manischewitz or Stripes. Okay? Unleavened bread tends to be flat, poked holes and so forth so it wouldn't rise, but it's no different than eating pita bread that's been pushed down, if you will.
Yeah,
And it's quite tasty, but there was no nutritional substance whatsoever to it.
I used to, when I was nature at camp,
Right, you make matzah there.
we would make, we didn't
But it's
call
not
it
matzah, it's
We-
unleavened
we
bread.
called it bread.
Peter,
And
Pita
it was
bread, yeah,
just, you know,
but you're not letting it rise.
Yeah, we just, and that was fun.
Correct.
It was delicious.
Of course it was. It's fresh and hot and warm.
that's
A
the
little
last
bit of butter
time
and garlic. Anyway,
that's the last time she cooked that.
it's been a few years.
It's been a few years that you made Peter bread, Susan.
I haven't made pita bread since
God.
Like I said, it's been a few years. We'll leave it at
a
that.
few
Leave it at
years.
that. Beans, lentils, and so forth. I'm not sure, other than he may have noticed it created gas. Which would be all the others: the cabbage, leek, onions, garlic, mustard, radish. My father loved radish, but he would burp up a storm every time.
But why onions and garlic?
I think I'll check. Garlic, I'm thinking odor. Onion, odor.
So it's really not, he's not accurate then.
Of course it's not accurate, but he said you can eat these, just don't eat too much of it. Bonnier Shore, a beloved professor of music at the Hebrew Union College in Cincinnati, until the day he died, ate a fresh clove of garlic every single day. The man reeked of garlic. But he never had any illness. He lived well in his late 90s, full faculty, so I mean, how can you argue?
No friends.
Yeah.
No friends.
It's known that garlic has an antibiotic property.
That, and it's great for your heart and so forth, and keep vampires away. What else do you need to know?
And keeps people with germs away.
Yeah, that too. That too.
My
Keeps all
grandfather used
people
to rub-
away.
That's
My
right.
grandfather used to rub a clove of garlic on rye bread
Yeah.
and eat it. And then my grandmother would say, Abe, you're going to sleep on the floor tonight.
Yeah, well,
And these
I mean-
days we call that prosciutto.
Well, no, I mean, we take asparagus, I put a little bit of olive oil, use the no salt seasoning, and I cut up cloves of garlic and chop them around the top of it. I love it.
Delicious. Garlic
Right.
is wonderful.
I'm like, oh yeah. Anyway, but it is inadvisable for a man to partake of these, save only a very small quantity, and during the rainy season only, winter. But during the summer, he should not eat them at all, save, however, except beans and lentils are unfit to eat neither in summer season nor rainy season. Pumpkins should be eaten during the summer season.
Pumpkins.
Pumpkin, yeah.
Pumpkin.
Pumpkin, yeah.
It's okay.
It's cute.
Right? Now, there's still other food stuff which are bad, but not as bad as these. They are waterfowl, young pigeons, dates, bread toasted in oil, bread kneaded in oil, fine meal wherein no trace of bran was left, brine and herring brine. In other words, you're not eating the herring, you're drinking the brine.
Yeah.
There was this article on
How you make the sour cream?
on the internet that said one of the best foods today to eat, and they listed about 10 or 15.
Herring?
It was dates.
Yeah? So dates are very good for you. And again, I'm not sure why he's saying no. I know why the waterfowl and young pigeon. Young pigeon, there's no meat on them. And the waterfowl is because if you don't cook them right, you're actually putting yourself in danger. The
don't
duck
cook
and
it
so
the
forth.
next
They're more
time.
fat than anything else.
No more waterfowl.
I personally like a dirty martini once in a while, so it's not the most healthy thing for you. But of these, is unfit to eat much. A wise man who can control himself and not be carried away by his desires, who would not eat of the named foodstuffs altogether, save when he needs them as a drug, behold, he's a strong man. In other words, if you need it to help you out, and we do know that figs and dates, figs as a softener, and dates also as a softener, but also as has all kinds of vitamins in it, I think.
Yes.
And Israel, of course, has a major date crop. I mean, the major production in Israel. So, all right. Man should ever avoid himself from fruits of trees, surely not to partake overmuch thereof, even dried, not to mention fresh. But unripe fruits are daggers to the body. Now, partially for that is you're eating something that's really raw and can be more damaging because the body can't digest anything of it if it's not ripe enough. Or two, which I didn't know until recently. I don't know why I didn't know this. You're allowed to give apples to dogs. It's not a problem. Just don't give them the core. And I always knew not to give them the core. I didn't know why. Now I know why. apparently the seeds of the apple core
Have
have arsenic in it.
Yeah.
I did not know that.
But it's so little.
To us it is, but to dogs it can be harmful.
I gave it to our dog.
Our first one.
Our first one, she's dead.
No comment. No, I'm really good about not giving her. First of all, I don't give her a lot of stuff to begin with, because I don't want
Don't
to get
get
fat.
guilty now, don't feel guilty now.
But I mean, you know, she loves cheese. I don't give her cheese because dogs are lactose intolerant. Did you know that?
Not
I didn't know
ours.
that.
Not ours?
No, I don't. I mean, she doesn't have a problem, but I don't give her. I mean, I give her a bite and that's it. She loves it, but I won't give her any more.
The only time Willie, our Willie,
He does.
had an accident was we were up in the Poconos,
Right.
and we gave him a big bone. He loved it. He ate the whole thing.
Ah,
And he stood at the door, and you know, he had never really done that before, and he
yeah, they lost it. Yeah.
You know, that
Okay.
was poor,
Happens.
poor wonderful Willie.
Anyway, so unripe fruit. Likewise, are carobs ever bad to eat? And all citrus fruits are bad and must not be eaten, but in small quantities during the summer season or warm zones. We obviously disagree with this, okay? But the question is why, but again, this is his interpretation, his understanding. The fact is in the Mishneh Torah, which is mind-boggling. But figs, grapes, and almonds are ever good to eat, whether dry